Namaste. Rainbow, my name is Janapati Das, and we are here today for a Shri Ishopanishad class. Please accept my respects, everyone. Thank you for continually watching my videos, and feel free to comment, make any suggestions, share, those kind of things. I'd like to offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my dear spiritual master, Jagat Guru, Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Srila Prabhupada, and pray for his mercy and continued kindness upon me. Unto my spiritual grandfather, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, for my most humble obeisances. We are going to continue reading through the different purports of my spiritual grandfather, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and from the 18 Pearls of Vedic Wisdom from Jagadguru Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Srila Prabhupada, his purport on the Shri Ishopanishad. And we will start off with some hearing and chanting of Krishna's name, so please join along.
Hare Rama, Hare
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. So we are reading from the Shri Ishopanishad. There's a picture of Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada's copy of Mahavishnu on the front. And we'll be reading from Mantra 2 with the Sanskrit. Kurvanam evaha karmani jivivi shatam shamaha evam davahi nanyatetoshti narkarma lipyate nare. Kurvan, doing continuously. Eva, thus. Iha, during the span of life. Karmani, work. Jivishat, one should desire to live. Shatam, 100. Shamaha, years. Evam, so living. Tavahi, unto you. Na, no. Anyata, alternative. Itaha, from this path. Ashti, there is. Na, not. Karma, work. Libyate, can be bound. Nare, unto a man. Translation, Mantra 2. One may aspire to live for hundreds of years if he continuously goes on doing work in that way, because that sort of work will not bind him to the law of karma, and there is no alternative to this way for man. So this is commenting upon the previous mantra, which was everything animate and inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself which are set aside as his quota, and one must not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. So in this consciousness of not believing in personal ownership of anything, even of our body or our life for that matter. I'm going to adjust this a little bit. There we go. One can go live for long periods of time. Of course, we don't live for hundreds of years, but this general consensus is that one can do their activities in service of Krishna and will not be bound by the law of karma, by their actions will not have reactions. And there is no alternative to this way for man. So there is no other way to come to self-realization other than to work in the service of Krishna. So every other activity binds one to the material universe. Purport by His Divine Grace. No one wants to die. No one wants to die. Yeah, well, nobody really wants to die. It's not a fun thing, you know. We strive and we all know we're going to die, but we don't really want to die. Everyone wants to live for as long as he can drag on. So we try so many different ways to try to, you know, oh, we got to go to the doctor. Maybe we're not really taking care of our body very well, and suddenly we're like, oh, maybe the doctor, the miracle worker, will go and fix us. And then he's like, well, you know, you've been doing this to your body, and your body is just irreparable. It's not fixable. And you're like, oh, we just try to drag on, and on the other side, it's like taking the supplements, the latest things and crazes, drinking juices and eating a vegan diet and clean diet and exercising and getting enough sleep and living in healthy places. You know, we try everything we can, and you see this. There's even this billionaire guy right now. I forget what his name was, Brian something. He's the latest guy to believe that we can actually achieve immortality if we just So he spends all of his money and his time. He goes to the gym every day. He only eats specific types of foods, and he pays money to have certain kinds of treatments done on his body. And he's been able to actually slow down his reverse a lot of different things that went on. But how long can you do that before the nature catches up with you? And his latest thing is that, I'm going to beat death, right? I'm going to live forever. If we just do the right things, we will be able to live forever, because we don't want to die. We want to live forever in this body and enjoy. And that just has never worked. There's been emperors and people who've looked for the fountain of youth and have, just take the proper, taking Chinese ginseng. In the past, emperors have tried these things, and they're all dead. They're all dead. Their bodies all died. So there is no way around it. This is why this planet is called Marchaloka, which means the planet of death, because we all come into different life forms in each life that we're in, the material world, and it has a beginning, a middle, and an end, just like everything else in this material world. This temperament is not only visible individually, but also it is visible collectively in the community, society, and nation. There is a hard struggle for life in every class of living entities. And the Veda says that this is quite natural for the living being. So it's natural for the living because we are not our body, we are not our minds, we are eternally existing as jivatmas. We are spirit souls, but we are in this, as is said in the Bhagavad Gita, right? Chapter 7, verse 4 and 5. Earth, water, fire, air, mind, intelligence, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. All these consist of my inferior energies, Krishna is saying. So everything that makes up the matter is actually inferior. But in text 5, it says, besides these, O Arjuna, there are the living entities, the jivatmas, who are struggling very hard with material nature and are sustaining the universe. So this struggle, there is a hard struggle for life in every class of living entities. So there is a struggle because we are eternal, but we're in a temporary existence trying to seek out some kind of eternality within this housing situation that we're in right now. And it doesn't equate. So therefore there is suffering and there's frustration and there's struggling, because we feel like we need to continue, but yet our body does not. And this was the dilemma that Arjuna was facing in the battlefield when he said he would not fight to Krishna, because he was thinking all of his family members, so-called family members, were his family members and they were going to be killed. And Krishna made it very clear that these living entities are temporarily in the positions of family members, but they are actually not your family members. They are eternal spirit souls. So this is the dilemma. The living being is eternal by nature, but due to his bondage in the material existence, he has to change his body from one to another. This process is also called transmigration of the soul. This transmigration is also called karma bandha, or being bound by one's own work. So karma, of course, is one's work or action, and bandha is a bondage. So imagine that this existence is considered to be a bondage. We are consistently bound, and we are perpetually moving through a cycle of samsara from different life forms due to the activities that we do, our karma. So this is what Bhaktivedanta makes it very clear. The living being is eternal by nature, but due to his bondage in the material existence, he has to change his body because the body is only temporary. But he is eternal, so he has to go on. And he carries these activities, and it's said in the Bhagavad Gita, like aroma is carried in the nose. I think that's, that was a quote we just recently. The living entity carries these kinds of aromas, or these kind of activities, like subtle smoke or subtle aroma that's like lingering as they move along. The transmigration is also called, okay, so we read that. The living entity has to work for his livelihood because that is the law of material nature. So the living entity is active by nature, and he has to act accordingly because he's an active. You have a body, you have to sustain your body, you have to get food for the body, you have to find shelter for the body. Otherwise, you will be kicked out of the body and forced to take on another body. So we have to act but the activities that we do come with karmic reaction, and thus our dilemma. And if he does not act according to the prescribed duties of his particular life, he transgresses the laws of nature, making himself bound more and more in the cycle of birth and death. So that the prescribed duties are the karma, the activities that in the Vedic times were regulated for people who wanted to, the karma kanda sections of the Vedas that were religiously, that doesn't include what we mostly do now, which is called vikarma, which is forbidden activities. They're not even prescribed by any kind of scriptural injunctions. They're very sinful activities: murder, rape, unnecessary murder, rape, robbery. Everything that we do basically now is this accumulating large amounts of karmic reaction. The cycle of birth and death is present in life other than the human form. When the living entity gets the chance for human life, however, it is his chance to get free from the chain of the law of karma. Karma, akarma, and vikarma are principles very clearly described in the Bhagavad Gita. Actions which are done in terms of the prescribed duties mentioned in the revealed scriptures are called karma. So this is a wonderful distinction because people don't have a very clear understanding. We've been reading from the Bhagavad Gita, which also delineates the meanings of what karma really means, because most people throw around this word in modern day, you're gonna get your karma, and they don't really know what that means. Actually, they just think it's it's more like karmic reaction. Actions which make one free from the cycles of birth and death are called akarma. This is the activities that are done. Actually, it means that non-action, but more specifically is actions that are done in the service of Krishna directly. Pure devotional service is called akarma. And actions which are performed by the misuse of one's freedom, thereby directing oneself to the lower regions of life, are called vikarma. So many people in the material world acting under the activities known as vikarma are laying out the tracks for a very, very hellish existence in their next life, in the next several lives, to basically pay off the activities that they're doing that are very sinful. And these are lower life forms. Of these three categories of activities, the one which makes one free from the cycle of further bondage to karma is preferred by intelligent men. Ordinary men want to perform good work in order to be recognized and to achieve some status of life in this world or in heaven, but more advanced men want to be free altogether from the actions and reactions of work. So this is seen in the Vedic system where karma, where the prescribed duties, there were the rules and regulations which were attached to the activities that one would do, would allow people to enjoy, heavenly planets, which are considered to be more material world, but of greater existence, sort of like what people would think of as heaven, I guess, and by the Judeo-Christian Islamic concept, that's, Islam, they think of going to gardens of paradise and enjoying women and wine, and Christians are like, well, I'm going to go to heaven and enjoy with my friends and family, and will all be great things, be beautiful places, beautiful gardens where I can enjoy, so I'll do some regulated activities now. But this is not what is referred to when we're talking about a karma, or pure devotional service. The pure devotional service, the individual spirit soul will go back to Krishna, and Krishna is the goal, not the heavenly kingdom, which is what many people think. Are you going to be saved? Are you going to go to heaven? They want to go to heaven and enjoy some more, sort of like an extension of their enjoyment. They sacrifice a little bit now so they can enjoy later. This is not the same thing as a karma. Intelligent men know well that both good and bad works are equal causes of material miseries of life. So the karmic reactions, whether good karma or bad karma, you can receive good karma by doing pious activities, and the good karma also has to be paid off in future lives. So that requires staying in the material world, taking on another birth. Maybe in your next life you receive pious activities, will pay off in the means that you're born in a first world country with more wealth, more money, aristocratic family, good looks, intelligence, things like that. But what's actually showing that the real intelligence is the intelligent man knows that any activities that you're doing sort of really for your own, it's, good and bad, even good activities are done for your own pleasure. You want to do pious activities so that you get the recognition and then be able to enjoy, and this is seen in Christian activity too. You do good things for people and you enjoy later on. But the intelligent man is not really attached to. It's not that we don't try to do good things to people, but the point is not to try to do good things so we can enjoy later on. The point is to do good things because it's pleasing to Krishna. They therefore seek to do work which will free them from the reactions of good and bad work. This freedom from good or bad work is ascertained herewith in Shri Ishopanishad. The instruction of Shri Ishopanishad is better explained in the Bhagavad Gita, sometimes called the Gita Upanishad, the cream of all the Upanishads. In the Bhagavad Gita, the personality of Godhead says that no one can attain the state of nishkarma or akarma without beginning the prescribed duties mentioned in the Vedic literature. Okay, and if you're new to this channel and you're just tuning in on this particular thing, I am doing a series we're reading through the Bhagavad Gita as it is, so you can go and watch those. So we've already gotten through 3 chapters, and starting the fourth chapter, you can hear a lot about this information. The Vedic literature can regulate the working energy of the human being in such a way that one can gradually realize the authority of the Supreme Being. When one realizes the authority of the personality of Godhead, is to be understood that he has attained the stage of positive knowledge. So we all have knowledge, and the Vedic literature was set up in a way to help mankind elevate their consciousness to understanding Krishna, basically, is the goal. Krishna is always the goal, despite whatever other things may be going on in the scriptures, what other rules and regulations that it may be talking about. The end goal is Krishna. it's stated in the end of the Bhagavad Gita, just abandon all varieties of religion, abandon all these rules and regulations, and surrender to me. That's what it states in the Bhagavad Gita, the summary. When one realizes the authority of the personality of God, it is to be understood that he has attained the stage of positive knowledge. That's the real knowledge. It's real knowledge. At this purified stage of life, where the modes of nature, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance, cannot act, one is enabled to work on the basis of nishkarma, or work which does not bind one to the cycle of birth and death. Factually, no one has to do anything more than to render devotional service to the Lord. In the lower stage of life, however, one cannot at once adopt the activities of devotional service, nor can one completely stop reactionary work. A conditioned soul is accustomed to working for sense gratification, for its own selfish interest, immediate or extended. So, once again, the point being that we've mentioned before is that jivatmas in different grades of life, but also in human form of life, are in different stages of consciousness. And sometimes they may hear this and not understand it. They may be attached and attracted to enjoying heavenly planets, enjoying different kinds of things, and therefore they follow the rules and regulations of their religious activities or religions. That's fine. It's even said that regardless of whether you're in an animistic religion or different world religion, or Judeo-Christian, Islamic religion, or whatever it might be, if you follow your rules and your regulations faithfully, you will be spiritually elevated in your next life to a higher understanding. An ordinary man wants to work with his own sense enjoyment, and when the principle of sense enjoyment is extended from the individual to include the collective society, nation, or humanity in general, it assumes various attractive names such as altruism, socialism, communism, nationalism, humanitarianism, etc. So there are all kinds of different isms. Even my spiritual master has had lectures about the different isms that people. But this is all deriving from the principle of sense enjoyment. Socialists, they want to see, receive different government amenities so that they can enjoy getting health care, they can enjoy going to free college, they can enjoy different kinds of distribution of wealth among people, and that can greater facilitate enjoyment. But we're not going to get into the philosophy of different isms here. This is just the main point with Bhaktivedanta Swami is saying that this is portrayed it through different, from the individual, extended through the community to society and nation and humanity through different kinds of forms of philosophy and social and political systems. These isms are certainly very attractive forms of karma bandha, the bondage of one's own work, but the Vedic instructions of Shri Ishopanishad is as follows: if you actually live for any of the above isms, make them God-centered. There is no harm in becoming a family man, an altruistic, a socialist, communist, nationalist, or humanitarian, provided all such activities are executed in relation with Ishabhasha, the God-centered conception. And in reality, that's kind of what people are sort of indirectly doing. Many times even, we did mention communism. Communists are most frequently atheistic, and they don't accept a God figure, but they do aim, everybody has a central higher purpose that they're, in this case it might be the state, or for the common humanist ideal. But ultimately, what they're trying to aim for is a God-centered conception. God-centered activities are evaluated in the Bhagavad Gita as being so rich that even a little bit of them can save one from the greatest danger. The greatest danger of life is to glide down again into the evolutionary cycle of birth and death. So there really is evolution. It's not a material evolution. It is a spiritual evolution of transmigration of the soul through different species, 8,400,000 species. If in some way or other a man misses the spiritual opportunity offered by his human form of life and thus glides down again into the evolutionary cycle, it must be considered the most regrettable incidents. Although foolish man cannot see this due to his defective senses. So there's many things that we consider to be very unfortunate and horrible in the material world. And we strive to try to fix these things through material things, but the greatest missed opportunity is to not recognize who you are and what the purpose of your life spiritually is to be, and to waste your human form of life in a lot of these kinds of isms or even self-centered actions. Although foolish men cannot see this due to his defective senses. So yeah, the senses, right, different kind of senses are defective. We've already discussed this before, the fact that one of the 4 defects of humans is that we have imperfect senses. Shri Ishopanishad advises us, therefore, to exert our energy in the Ishabhasya spirit, and in that engagement we may wish to live for many, many years. Right, so the activity of serving Krishna, we overlook. It's not like we want to be living forever to try to enjoy our senses and try to achieve different material successes. We want to be able to serve Krishna. We want to be able to serve Krishna and our spiritual master by chanting Krishna's names and by helping other people. So we may wish to live for 100 years so that we can do that. Otherwise, one's long life is no better than that of a tree, which is also a living being and which lives for hundreds and hundreds of years. There is no point in living a long time like the trees, or breathing like the bellows, or begetting children like the hog and the dog, or eating like the camel. Even a humble life with God-centered activities is more valuable than the colossal hoax of so-called altruism or socialism without any relation to God. Colossal hoax. That's great. I want to put that on, write that down. Material life is a colossal hoax. Isms are a colossal hoax. Pursuit of communism and fascism or socialism or any ism, humanism, is a colossal hoax if it does not have any relationship to Sri Krishna. When activities such as altruism are executed in the spirit of Shri Ishopanishad, every one of them becomes a form of karma yoga, as is recommended in the Bhagavad Gita. So we do recognize the importance, because Lord Jesus Christ, a dear, great, wonderful Vaishnava devotee of Krishna, said that one should love the Lord our God with our whole being, and like unto it we should love our neighbor as ourselves. There is no greater kindness than to look out for the welfare of our different brothers and sisters in different forms of life, and to act for their welfare, even if it's materially. But this is also done in the spirit of being a God-centered concept. And that guarantees the executor against the dangers of the evolutionary process of birth and death. Such God-centered activities, even though half-finished, are still good for the executor, because they will guarantee him the human form of life in his next birth. In this way, he can have another chance to improve his position on the path of liberation. Okay, so that's Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada's report. We will read from my dear spiritual master, Jagat Guru, Mantra 2, purport. The second mantra of Shri Ishopanishad refers to karma yoga, or devotional service. If a person understands the first mantra of the Shri Ishopanishad, that everything belongs to God, including one's body, possessions, and very self, and lives according to this truth by dovetailing his life in the loving service of God, then he is engaged in what is called karma yoga. Karma means action, and yoga means united with God, or united with the absolute truth. So it's a very wonderful existence to be able to live in a life of purpose, as such, united with the absolute truth, doing our work for God's pleasure. Everyone is engaged in action. The law of karma means that there are reactions to every action, and that a person must endure the reactions to his actions. As Jesus Christ taught, as you sow, so shall you reap. So this is, once again, Jesus Christ, great devotee of Krishna, uses this word, as you sow, so shall you reap. One of those sayings that are grossly misquoted and related to just the most obnoxious things that I've seen. Even people use it as a political thing, that somebody does something that's hateful and then they're going to reap. I mean, it is a great philosophical statement, but what it means is how you act, whether that's in the service of Krishna or not in service of Krishna, you will reap love for Krishna, or you will reap the reactions to what you do. A person is not the body; he is eternal spirit soul, residing only temporarily in the body. The particular body a person has is due to his past activities, his past life. So very clear, very clear. The Bhagavad Gita Krishna also explains this very clearly in chapter 2, as the living entity needs to understand that they are not their body. They are not the designations of the body. They are not what goes on in their mind, what desires they have in their mind, what desires they act out that has nothing to do with who they really are. So we are neither black, white, tall, fat, short, skinny, transgender, homosexual, straight. We are a spiritual entity temporarily in the body. And to identify with any of the previous concepts is ignorance. So the activities, the reactions of our body, of our desires, of whether we're born in a particular type of body, have to do with our past activities in previous life. Those are karmic reactions playing out in the gross and subtle energies that are surrounding the Jivatma. No one chooses where they will be born, or even in what species of life they will be born. Some living entities are in dog and cat bodies, others are in bird bodies, and so on. So many different types of bodies are provided by material nature, and the particular type of body given to the spirit soul depends on its past karma and his desires at the time of death. The eternal spirit soul is bound up on an endless wheel of repeated birth and death caused by reaping the fruit of the seeds he has sown by his actions. And so the fruits of the karmic reactions are considered to be seeds, and there are different names for the different seeds of karmic reactions. Some that are fructifying, some that are in seed form, some that are being created, and so different kinds of. Sometimes we are experiencing through life the fructification of the karmic reactions, that we may, wake up with a really terrible headache, or something really horrible might be happening to us. We may get in a car accident. That's a karmic reaction that we're receiving. Everyone is struggling for a long life, not caring that this will simply cause accumulation of karma and thus rebirth. So there's a huge illusion and delusion by living entities in this, by identifying with their body and not realizing that the activities that they're doing to try to find happiness, to try to find love for Krishna, perverted into the material world, is creating more and creating the path for future suffering that will continually, this is why they call it a cycle, or samsara, the cycle of repeated birth and death, just on this cycle. Every action, good or bad, produces some karmic reaction. Actions that are bad, quote unquote bad, create bad karmic reaction. A person who engages in heinous criminal actions, or who lives simply like an animal, exploiting others, will have to eat the bitter fruit of such actions in the future. So you often wonder, like, this person gets away with murder. Nobody gets away with murder. In the long action, that they will have to pay back those activities by being murdered in a future life. Actions that are described in scripture as good or pious create good karma. A person who wishes after the death of his body to enjoy a more pleasurable material life in some heavenly planet or on earth is often very careful to engage in pious actions. So we see this in, Judeo-Christian Islamic as well. It's like, you do good things so that you can go to heaven and enjoy in God's kingdom, all the wealth of heaven and the beautiful gardens and beautiful maidens and things that you can't do right now because you're trying to do good actions and regulate. His aim is increased sensual pleasure, both now and in the future. Thus, both bad and good karma create karmic reaction, which forces a person to take on another material body, even if it is in the heavenly material planets. So this idea of good karma, of doing pious activities, is not a bad thing to do pious activities, but once again, it is the consciousness by which you do it, and also the understanding that if you're doing that for some kind of material desire, you will have to take on another body. Like a bank account, you put in a certain amount of money into bad and good karmic reactions, bad or good karma or actions. Those will have fruit or money that will have to be paid back to you. But in order to be paid back to you, you need a material body. So you will be forced to take on another material body. The point is, it's not whether we should have good karma. The point is that we should have a karma, no karma, but we should be doing our activities for Krishna. And because Krishna is the source of all spiritual, it is spiritual energy, the source of all spiritual energy, it is without any kind of karmic reaction. It's a karma. As the Lord states, and whatever there is matter, there is birth and death. As the Lord states in the jewel of the Vedas, the Bhagavad Gita, for one who is born, death is certain, and for one who dies, birth is certain. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 27. The yogi or transcendentalist does not want to be born again in the material world. He wants to transcend the wheel of birth and death, which is full of suffering. How do I get off this ride? You're like the roller coaster that just continues to go around and around and around, up and down and all over. It's like, how do I get off? I don't want to keep riding on this roller coaster. I want to get off because it's full of suffering, birth and death. So even if you're enjoying good karma as a good life and lots of material pleasure, you will eventually you will have in there suffering and death, disease, old age. Thus, he does not want to create good or bad or good karmic reaction. Must he then simply sit down and meditate silently until his body dies? Will any action create karmic reaction? Does he have to stop all actions? And if so, is this even possible? So, good question by Srila Prabhupada, making a point that Krishna was telling Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. But Krishna was like, well, I want to go off and be a renunciate. I want to renounce all those things that are making me attached to the material world. But Srila Prabhupada here is saying, is this possible? The second mantra is intended for serious yogis and transcendentalists. It says that if a person's life, his work, that is, his actions, are based on the understanding that God is the owner, controller, and enjoyer, then such actions will create neither bad nor good karmic reaction. So we can see that the Shri Ishopanishad, as it folds out, the invocation reflects everything that comes after it. And the first mantra also reflects the idea that God is perfect, perfectly complete, and the things that come from it are perfectly complete in what they need to do. But that all these things, animate and inanimate, belong to Krishna, and that we should understand that we are not the owners and controllers, but we are temporarily using these things and have the opportunity to use them in Krishna service. And if we do so, as the mantra 2 says, then we can go on for living for happily in this material life until the end of our body and go back to Krishna. Actions engaged in for the pleasure of God cause no karmic reaction. So one who dovetails his life in the loving service of God, who works in the Lord's service, creates no new karmic reaction. Such activity in devotional service is called akarma or nishkarma. Because a person engaged in devotional service produces no karmic reaction from his activities, he does not need to take on any more material bodies. At the death of his body, he returns to the spiritual world and engages there in further loving service to the Supreme Lord. So it's not a place that we're going. It's an existence that has existed for all eternity until now. We've come to this point, and I'm using words in a temporary sort of thing because it's kind of hard to understand how we can be eternally existing in loving service to God, but at this time not being in service of God. That is sort of beyond the scope of the mind, but this is what is understood. Here we are. We can just act and we can educate people about our natural status, which makes us happy, which leads to the happiness that we are trying to seek and are stuck in this cycle of birth and death to try to seek. That's not making us happy, it's making us miserable and unhappy and creating just so much suffering and unhappiness. At the death of there we go. Mantra 2 makes it clear that one who lives for Lord's pleasure, who makes God the center of his life's work, can aspire to live for a long time in this world without any negative consequences. A long life will not bind him to the wheel of karmic reaction, and this is a pleasurable and happy life existence to be able to do this activity for Krishna. We live simply. We walk gently on the earth. We are, when you act in such way, you are peaceful, and you can attract other people. They will say, "Why is this person so peaceful in such a horrible world?" Krishna. He will not incur any karmic reaction no matter how long he remains here. Although appearing to live in the world of matter, the transcendentalist engaged to the loving service of the Lord is not really in the material world. He is in the spiritual world. There is a primary difference between the material world and the spiritual dimensions. In the spiritual world, God is the central enjoying agent, and the living beings are enjoying serving him. Whereas in the material world, the living entities reject God's lordship and struggle to be the lords and enjoyers. And we're not really enjoying it, actually, overall. We kind of sort of enjoying things, but then the end game is immense suffering. A pure loving servant of God, one who is conscious of the spiritual realm, yet who appears before those of us in the material world, is an ambassador or representative of the spiritual world, the spiritual master. In other words, the Supreme Lord and his pure devotees can appear to exist in this material world without really being in it. That's why Lord Jesus Christ said, "Be in the world, but not of the world." To be in the material world means to be dominated by the illusory energy Maya. It means being under the laws of material nature, specifically the laws of karma. This mantra makes it absolutely clear that you can live in this world and not be under the laws of karma. By surrendering to the Supreme Lord, by serving Him out of love, you can be freed from the bondage of the illusory energy. Indeed, you, the jiva, the individual soul, have been placed under Maya in the laws of material nature, specifically because of your enviousness of the Lord. So everyone in the material world is envious. They want to be God. As soon as you give up such envy and want to be engaged in the Lord's loving service, there is no need to be under Maya's domination. So you are released. Remember, Maya is the illusory energy of God. It is God's energy and is controlled by Him. Ultimately, everyone is controlled by God and surrendered to God directly or indirectly. And this comes to do with consciousness. Like, what is our consciousness? What is our desires? What do we want to do? We want to serve Krishna, or do we want to serve Maya? There's no in between. You're going to serve Krishna, you're going to serve Maya. You got to serve somebody, as Bob Dylan would say. If a person wants to be a loving servant of the Supreme Lord, then he gets that. But if a person wants to be the Supreme Lord, master and enjoyer, then he's placed under the control of God's illusory energy. So he's given the illusion that he is the Lord, that he is the enjoyer. And they wreak havoc on the world. Everybody, all these individual souls trying to enjoy, trying to be the Lord, trying to be the dominion. We see it play out every day in this material world. In this condition, he is the illusion of lordship, but is in fact under the strict laws of material nature. People do not even realize how controlled they are. They think, yeah, I've got it under control. I'm the man. By following this mantra, a person changes his service. Instead of serving Maya, he serves the Lord. A bona fide spiritual master, a fully realized soul, is not someone who has become master or Lord. A spiritual master is not someone who has defeated the power of Maya. No, a spiritual master serves God instead of Maya, but he is still serving. Everyone is dominated. Everyone serves. Our only choice is, do we serve God or Maya? Do we surrender to and be dominated by God or by Maya? To choose to serve God results in life, happiness, and freedom. To choose to serve Maya results in death, misery, and slavery. So, very wonderful verse. And then we will read Mantra 3 next time. So, thank you very much. Namaste.